The young and the restless spoilers in the labyrinthine world of Genoa City's corporate intrigue and finely tuned social machinations. The recent revelation of Aristotle Dumas's existence has rippled through every boardroom, every whispered conversation in chic downtown lounges, and every headline in the Tribune. Few outside a circle of anonymous lawyers and private investigators even knew his name, yet Aristotle has been pulling strings in the shadows for years, orchestrating a master plan that targeted not just corporate assets, but the very foundations of the Newman dynasty. Born to privilege in Chicago, Aristotle was heir to one of the nation's most venerable legal families, yet he chose early on to forge his own path. With a law degree from Stanford and a reputation for ruthless efficiency, he earned renown defending Fortune 500 executives and brokering mergers that redefined entire industries. His moniker, the Architect, was as much tribute to his strategic genius as to the quiet way he influenced events from behind walls of confidentiality, a ghost in the machinery of power. From the moment he learned of his son Adam's existence, Aristotle's ambitions shifted. He recognized that Victor Newman, a titan who built an empire on ruthless tenacity, would never voluntarily relinquish the Newman name or its attendant wealth to a biological outsider. Aristotle's solution was surgical in its precision. He deployed discreet teams to recover archived biological samples from Adam's earliest medical records, samples that Victor and his inner circle believed had long since been misfiled or destroyed. In laboratories from Wisconsin to Los Angeles, unremarkable flasks of DNA were quietly analyzed, sealed with unassailable chain of custody documentation. Meanwhile, Aristotle wove a web of shell companies to acquire strategic stakes in Chancellor, Williams, Newman Media, and Jabot Cosmetics, ensuring that the moment his paternity claim became public, he would stand ready to exercise control over board votes, executive appointments, and corporate directives. All correspondence, encrypted emails, notarized letters delivered in unmarked envelopes, clandestine meetings in hotel lobbies, was crafted to leave nothing to chance. Aristotle's patience was limitless, his timeline measured not in months, but in years. Adam Newman, for his part, had long sensed an invisible barrier between himself and Victor, who alternated between paternal warmth and pointed indifference without explanation. When Aristotle's first cryptic message arrived, an unsigned letter suggesting a simple, court-ordered DNA test, Adam's world tilted on its axis. He confronted Victor in his office atop the Newman skyscraper, demanding answers. Victor deflected with practiced grace, insisting that family secrets could be more damaging than spilled blood, that the Newmans were stronger united by loyalty than divided by curiosity. But Adam could not shake the conviction that he was a stranger in his own flesh. As whispers of Aristotle's claim gained traction among a handful of confidants, Nikki Newman, Sharon Collins, and Victoria Newman passed along rumors like worried siblings, Victor's unease became palpable. He summoned his top attorneys, drafted injunctions, and pressured Adam to remain silent. Yet in Genoa City, secrets never stay buried. When Aristotle finally stepped into the light, it was neither with bluster nor bravado, but with the quiet dignity of a man accustomed to controlling the narrative. He arranged for a private board meeting at a nondescript conference center on the city's outskirts, extending invitations to Victor, Adam, and the key players from both families. There, he presented the meticulously documented DNA results, slides under glass, chromatograms, expert affidavits that demonstrated with scientific certainty his biological connection to Adam. The atmosphere crackled with tension as Victor, lips pressed into a thin line, scanned each page, each graph, each legal seal. Adam, trembling with equal parts vindication and dread, watched as the fabric of his upbringing unraveled before his eyes. Aristotle, rising to address the stunned assembly, spoke not of vengeance, but of the restoration of truth. Blood binds us not by obligation, but by identity, he declared. Today, we honor that bond. In the days that followed, the repercussions were seismic. Share prices in Newman Media and Chancellor Communications wavered as investors digested the potential upheaval in leadership succession. Claire and Devin Hamilton, ever attuned to shifting power dynamics, maneuvered to secure their own alliances, while Jack Abbott saw opportunity to reclaim ground lost to Victor's machinations. Within the hallowed halls of Jabot Cosmetics, whispers spread that Aristotle might propose a merger contingent upon Adam's elevation to co-CEO, an outcome that would sideline Victoria Newman, whose grip on her father's company had depended on familial loyalty. Meanwhile, Kyle Abbott, torn between loyalty to his cousin and empathy for Adam's betrayal, bristled as calls for board votes loomed. Lawyers drafted motions, accountants recalculated equity stakes, and PR teams prepared damage control statements promising stability even as the floor beneath Genoa City's corporate elite threatened to give way. Amid this maelstrom, Adam found himself at a crossroads. He could reject Aristotle's overtures, cling to the surname that had defined his life, and accept whatever diminished role Victor offered him. Or he could embrace his father's legacy, stepping into the role Aristotle had quietly prepared, one that promised legitimacy, influence, and the respect he had always craved. Victor, stripped of the certainty of his heir's loyalty, withdrew into silence, his empire suddenly brittle where it once seemed impregnable. In the end, it was Adam's voice that broke the stalemate. With measured resolve, he acknowledged Aristotle as his father and announced his intention to pursue a restructured leadership team that honored biological truth and corporate merit in equal measure. The declaration reverberated through every newsroom, every stock ticker, and every whispered hallway conversation. And so, in a city fueled by ambition and bound by legacy, Aristotle Dumas emerged not as a shadowy manipulator but as a harbinger of transformation. His reclamation of fatherhood was more than a personal triumph, it was a catalyst that laid bare the brittle hierarchies upon which Genoa City's power was wielded. As the gavel fell on emergency board sessions and the final signatures were inked on revised corporate charters, one fact became indisputable. In the end, the greatest power in Genoa City did not lie with dollar signs on balance sheets, but with the inescapable truth written in our genes, and the courage of those who dare to reveal it. Caught between the unyielding force of Victor Newman and the newly revealed legacy of Aristotle Dumas, Adam Newman stands at a crossroads more harrowing than any he has faced before, forced to reckon with questions of blood and allegiance that threaten to shatter everything he has known. He who once strode the halls of Newman Enterprises with the easy confidence of a born and bred heir now feels the ground slip beneath him as the truth of his paternity spreads through boardrooms and back channels alike. The DNA evidence, airtight and indisputable, has cast a long shadow over his identity, obliging him to choose not merely between two fathers but between two destinies. Does he embrace the Newman name, steeped in power and tradition, despite knowing it lies on a foundation of half-truths? Or does he seize the mantle of Dumas heritage, stepping into the role Aristotle has so painstakingly prepared for him? Worse yet, might he opt to break entirely from both dynasties and forge a path of his own, free of any familial ties but haunted by the specter of legacies he cannot fully escape? In this moment, Adam's situation transcends corporate maneuvering or inheritance disputes. It becomes a profound exploration of identity, belonging, and personal honor. Within Victor's empire, he has experienced the intoxicating rush of authority and the cold calculation that governs every decision. Within Aristotle's shadow, he sees the prospect of genuine paternal acceptance married to a brand of ruthless strategy that built fortunes from the ground up. To remain at Newman Enterprises under Victor's roof, however tenuous that relationship may now be, would demand that he swallow his sense of betrayal and publicly affirm loyalty to a man who knew he was not his son yet raised him as though he were. Such a choice might preserve his status and grant him continued access to the immense resources and global influence of the Newman brand, but it would also perpetuate a lie that gnaws at the heart of his self-respect. Colleagues and shareholders might whisper about favoritism or scandal, investors might balk at the prospect of ongoing internal strife, and Adam himself could never again feel secure in the loyalty of the very man he called father. By contrast, accepting Aristotle Dumas as his true parent and departing the Newman fold represents a dramatic rebirth, a chance to align his legal identity with biological truth and to claim the respect that comes with rightful inheritance. Aristotle, known as the architect, has already maneuvered behind the scenes, acquiring shares via shell companies, securing board influence, and quietly clearing the way for Adam's ascension within Charles' innovations once he formally swears allegiance to his birthright. Should Adam choose this route, he could emerge as co-CEO of a burgeoning enterprise backed by a father whose global connections and legal acumen eclipse his own. Yet this path also carries the risk of burning every bridge to the only community he has ever called home, of estranging himself from the Newman allies who once stood by him in victory and despair alike, and of stepping into a world governed by Aristotle's exacting standards, a world where mistakes are unforgiven and loyalty is purchased by performance alone. The third option, striking out entirely on his own, carries its own lure of freedom and reinvention. By severing ties with both Newman and Dumas, Adam could channel his keen strategic mind and hard-earned experience into a venture wholly of his own creation. Perhaps a fintech startup promising ethical innovation or a philanthropic foundation dedicated to reconciliation and transparency. Such an endeavor would allow him to escape the burdensome expectations of two dynasties and to craft a reputation untainted by legacy conflicts. He might rally independent investors with a vision of leadership defined by integrity rather than inheritance, proving that he can thrive on merit alone. Yet to pursue this path would also demand that he forego vast financial backing, to navigate a fiercely competitive landscape without the safety net of his family names, and to face the loneliness of charting a course with no guarantee of success or support. With every step away from legacy, the echoes of his lineage would still reverberate. Potential partners might wonder if his birthright affliction will eventually pull him back into familiar power struggles. As the decision looms, Adam's inner turmoil is mirrored in the reactions of those around him. Victor, his expression a mask of controlled fury beneath which outraged pride simmers, has already begun drafting contingency plans, reassigning key accounts, briefing loyal board members, and freezing shared accounts at the slightest provocation. He can't fully cast Adam aside, for the scandal of rejecting a presumed son in public court would devastate the Newman brand. Yet his icy reserve announces unequivocally that their relationship will never recover unless Adam chooses to reaffirm the Newman bond. On the other side, Aristotle watches with a measured calm, confident in the years of planning that guarantee his position the moment Adam formally acknowledges him. Yet even Aristotle's stoic demeanor betrays a glint of paternal hope. That his son will choose truth over convenience, tempered by the ruthlessness that built his empire. If Adam declines, Aristotle's network of influence and legal mechanisms will nonetheless proceed to dismantle whichever path he declines to claim. Meanwhile, the shareholders, media, and longtime allies of both families circle like vultures, each seeking advantage from the upheaval. Claire Newman and Devon Hamilton position themselves as mediators, offering to craft a joint venture that could unite the two family businesses under a single umbrella, provided Adam can serve as the linchpin of unity. Jack Abbott eyes an opportunity to bolster his own stake, ready to rally any shareholder willing to see Victor's empire divided and weakened. And investors in Chicago, long intrigued by Aristotle's moves, contemplate betting on the Dumas side of the ledger if Adam commits, anticipating a windfall from the combined might of two corporate dynasties. Above all, Adam's honor and sense of self hang in the balance. To reclaim his dignity in his own eyes, he must decide which identity truly resonates with his values and ambitions. Will he choose loyalty to the man who nurtured him despite knowing the truth, or allegiance to the father who hid in the shadows until the moment of revelation? Or will he assert his autonomy, stepping free from the gravitational pull of heritage to build a legacy defined solely by his own choices? In Genoa City, where power is measured in alliances and legacy is currency, Adam's decision will rewrite not only his future but the very landscape of corporate and familial ties. As he contemplates a noon-hour meeting at the Newman boardroom, a secret rendezvous in a Chicago law office with Aristotle's team, and the quiet solitude of his own thoughts, one certainty remains: whatever path he chooses, the world will watch, ready to crown him hero or pariah, and Adam Newman will finally discover whether blood truly is thicker than ambition, or whether the truest measure of family lies in the courage to define oneself beyond the names we inherit. Abby pushed open the door of crimson lights hesitantly, her shoulder brushing against the warm glow of the cafe's hanging lanterns. She spotted Amanda at a corner table, nursing a mug of chai latte and scanning a document with her brow slightly furrowed. Amanda looked up, startled for a heartbeat, then her eyes softened into a smile. "Abby," she said, standing to embrace her. The awkwardness between them hung for a moment unspoken, two old friends now entangled in complicated histories. Abby was the first to speak, voice bright with genuine warmth. "Amanda, congratulations on the wedding." She gestured toward Amanda's well-tailored suit and the subtle glint of a ring on her finger. "You look happy." Amanda's smile faltered with a blush. "Thank you," she murmured, smoothing the lapel of her jacket. "I appreciate that." They sat. Abby leaned forward, curiosity creeping into her tone. "How's the new job?" she asked. Amanda laughed softly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Busy, more than I expected. Between case preparations and courtroom appearances, I barely see daylight." Abby nodded knowingly. She'd been through her own whirlwind of work lately. "Sounds intense," she said. "After everything we've been through, it's good to see you so driven." Amanda set her documents aside. "Politeness can only carry us so far," she admitted, sipping her tea. Abby's eyes narrowed ever so slightly. "Have you moved back to town?" she pressed. Amanda shook her head. "Not yet," she assured. But when Abby mentioned Dumas, the smile on Amanda's face froze, just for a flicker. She cleared her throat. "My priority has always been to keep Winters safe," she said, tone measured. Abby's concern sharpened. "That doesn't explain everything," she insisted. Amanda sighed, leaning back. "I'm a good wife," she said quietly, her gaze steady. "How is Chance?" Abby blinked at the sudden change of subject but answered nonetheless, describing her son's latest school projects. Amanda listened, eyebrows softening, then said firmly, "I've never betrayed Devon, or you." Abby's lips pressed into a thin line. "Then why come back?" she demanded. Amanda's eyes reflected both sorrow and resolve. "I have no thirst for revenge. No grudge about my husband being with someone else. I came back to face my past, to build a future that isn't defined by old wounds." Their conversation lingered in the air, a fragile bridge between what had been and what might yet be repaired. As they stood to leave, the tension between them remained, unresolved but honest, the first step toward a reconciliation neither had known they needed.